The border fortresses, frontier defense and strategic outposts. The frontier commander, in the commanding watchtowers of Xaltocan fortress perched along the contested northern frontier, where imperial authority faced constant challenges from independent Chichimek tribes, and strategic border defenses determined the fate of crucial trade routes connecting the empire to distant markets. Tlacaelel Ocelotl, the most experienced frontier commander in imperial service, coordinated defensive operations across 12 strategic outposts, while understanding that authentic border security required not merely military strength, but sophisticated intelligence networks that could anticipate threats, diplomatic relationships that could prevent conflicts, and administrative systems serving both territorial protection and commercial facilitation through systematic attention to garrison management, early warning procedures, and strategic coordination with imperial headquarters. Defied Sonpos morning intelligence briefing revealed escalating tensions along the northern approaches, where recent Chichimek raiding parties had tested imperial defenses, while independent merchants reported unusual military movements, suggesting possible coordinated attacks against multiple fortress positions. These frontier challenges required immediate assessment while planning long-term strategies for maintaining imperial control over strategically vital territories. Scout reports indicate increased Chichimek activity near the Tepeyac passes, with evidence of temporary encampments that could support sustained raiding operations, Tlacaelel announced to his assembled garrison commanders during the strategy session. However, the patterns suggest testing of our defensive capabilities rather than immediate assault preparations, indicating possible coordination with hostile political elements seeking to challenge imperial authority through systematic frontier pressure. This intelligence analysis reflected the sophisticated threat assessment that characterized effective border defense operations. Successful frontier commanders needed detailed understanding of enemy capabilities, political motivations, and strategic objectives while developing defensive strategies that could address both immediate tactical threats and long-term territorial security challenges. The garrison management responsibilities required coordinating personnel rotations, supply logistics, training programs, and morale maintenance across multiple fortress positions whose effectiveness depended on sustained professional competence and reliable communication networks that ensured coordinated responses to frontier challenges and imperial directives. Current garrison strength includes 400 professional warriors distributed across 12 fortified positions, with rotating assignments that maintain combat readiness while providing opportunities for advanced training and home leave, reported Xaltocan, the garrison coordinator who managed personnel assignments and logistical support for frontier operations. However, recent recruitment challenges have created shortfalls that could affect our ability to maintain full defensive capability during extended operations. This personnel analysis demonstrated the complex human resource challenges that affected frontier defense effectiveness, while highlighting the importance of systematic planning for maintaining adequate force levels despite recruitment difficulties and operational demands. The early warning systems involved coordinating networks of observation posts, signal relay stations, and mobile scout patrols that provided advance notification of potential threats while enabling rapid communication between isolated frontier positions and imperial military headquarters responsible for providing reinforcement support during major defensive operations. The signal relay network included strategically positioned beacon towers that could transmit coded messages across vast distances using smoke signals during daylight hours and fire beacons during night operations. These communication systems enabled frontier commanders to coordinate defensive responses while requesting reinforcement support from imperial military reserves stationed in regional centers. Signal relay efficiency enables transmission of urgent intelligence from northern observation posts to Imperial headquarters within 6 hours, providing adequate warning for coordinating reinforcement deployments and defensive preparations, noted Tlacaelel, the communications specialist who managed signal operations and maintained beacon tower installations throughout the frontier region. This communication capability provided essential coordination frameworks for frontier defense operations, while ensuring that isolated garrison positions maintained reliable contact with Imperial command structures and mutual support networks. The strategic trade route protection required balancing commercial facilitation with security concerns while developing procedures that ensured merchant safety without creating barriers that might discourage profitable trade activities essential for Imperial economic prosperity and frontier regional development. The major trade routes connecting Imperial territories with northern markets carried valuable goods including turquoise, precious feathers, exotic furs, and specialized craft products, whose protection required sophisticated escort procedures and checkpoint systems that verified merchant credentials while monitoring potential security threats. Trade route protection involves coordinating merchant escort schedules, maintaining checkpoint security, and conducting intelligence gathering that enables identification of potential threats while facilitating legitimate commercial activities, explained Tlacaelel, the trade security coordinator who managed commercial protection operations along frontier transportation corridors. Such commercial security measures demonstrated the complex balance between defensive operations and economic facilitation that characterized effective frontier management, while ensuring that military security enhanced rather than hindered the prosperity that justified Imperial territorial expansion. The diplomatic relationships with frontier populations required understanding complex tribal politics, cultural traditions, and economic interests that influenced their attitudes toward Imperial authority, while developing strategies for encouraging cooperation rather than resistance through appropriate combinations of military deterrence and political incentives. Recent negotiations with Otomi tribal leaders have established neutrality agreements that reduce potential threats along eastern approaches while creating opportunities for recruiting auxiliary forces to supplement regular garrison strength, observed Milintika, the diplomatic liaison who specialized in managing relationships with independent frontier communities whose cooperation was essential for effective border security. This diplomatic intelligence revealed opportunities for reducing military pressures through political means, while demonstrating the importance of understanding local political dynamics and cultural sensitivities that affected frontier stability and security operations. The fortress engineering requirements involved maintaining defensive installations, improving fortification systems, and coordinating construction projects that enhanced military effectiveness, while providing adequate facilities for garrison personnel, supply storage, and administrative operations necessary for sustained frontier defense capabilities. The fortress construction adapted Imperial military engineering techniques to local geographical conditions, while incorporating defensive innovations developed through practical experience with frontier warfare and siege operations. These adaptations included specialized obstacles designed to counter Chichimek mobility advantages and communication systems that facilitated coordination between multiple defensive positions. Current construction projects include expansion of Eastern Wall fortifications, improvement of gate defense systems, and installation of enhanced observation platforms that will increase surveillance capability while strengthening defensive positions, reported Tlacaelel, the military engineer who supervised fortress construction and maintenance operations throughout the frontier region. Such engineering improvements reflected systematic approaches to defensive planning, while demonstrating the ongoing adaptation and enhancement of military installations based on operational experience and changing threat assessments. The supply logistics coordination involved managing food distribution, weapons maintenance, equipment replacement, and medical support across dispersed garrison positions whose effectiveness depended on reliable logistical support, despite the challenges of operating in remote frontier territories with limited local resources. The supply systems included regular shipment schedules connecting frontier positions with Imperial production centers while establishing emergency reserve procedures that ensured continued operations during disrupted supply lines or extended siege conditions. These logistical networks required coordination with civilian merchants, Imperial transportation services, and regional administrative authorities. Monthly supply shipments provide essential provisions for garrison operations, while emergency reserve procedures ensure 90 days of autonomous operation capability during supply line disruptions. Detailed Xaltocan, the logistics coordinator who managed supply distribution and inventory systems supporting frontier defensive operations. This logistical planning ensured operational sustainability while providing flexibility for responding to unexpected challenges that might disrupt normal supply procedures and require extended autonomous operations. The intelligence gathering operations involved coordinating networks of informants, scout patrols, and diplomatic contacts that provided essential information about potential threats, political developments, and economic opportunities that affected frontier security and imperial interests in contested territorial regions. The intelligence networks included both formal military reconnaissance operations and informal information gathering through merchant contacts, tribal relationships, and cultural exchanges that provided insights into political attitudes and military preparations that might affect frontier security and imperial territorial control. Intelligence operations maintain regular contact with 43 informants throughout the frontier region, providing weekly reports on political developments, military activities, and economic conditions that affect security planning and defensive preparations. Analyzed Tlacaelel, the intelligence coordinator who managed information gathering and analysis supporting frontier command decision-making. Such comprehensive intelligence capabilities provided essential situational awareness for effective frontier defense planning while enabling proactive responses to developing threats rather than merely reactive defensive measures. The training programs for garrison personnel involved systematic military education, combat skill development, and specialized instruction in frontier warfare techniques that prepared soldiers for the unique challenges of border defense operations while maintaining professional standards appropriate for imperial military service. The training curriculum included conventional military skills, specialized frontier warfare techniques, cultural education about local populations, and administrative instruction necessary for effective frontier service. These programs ensured that garrison personnel possessed necessary capabilities while maintaining morale and professional development opportunities. Training programs include monthly combat exercises, quarterly specialized instruction in frontier warfare techniques, and annual advanced education opportunities that maintain professional competence while providing career advancement for outstanding personnel, outlined Tlacaelel during training coordination sessions. This educational approach ensured continued professional development while adapting military training to address specific challenges of frontier service and border defense operations. The coordination with Imperial headquarters involved regular reporting procedures, strategic consultation processes, and resource request systems that ensured frontier operations remained aligned with broader imperial policies while obtaining necessary support for effective defensive operations and territorial administration. Weekly reports to Imperial headquarters include intelligence summaries, operational status assessments, resource requirements, and strategic recommendations that ensure coordination between frontier operations and imperial policy objectives, noted Tlacaelel during command planning sessions. This coordination maintained institutional alignment while ensuring that frontier commanders received appropriate guidance and support for managing complex territorial and security challenges. The economic development responsibilities involved promoting regional prosperity through appropriate commercial policies, infrastructure development, and population settlement programs that strengthened imperial territorial control while providing economic benefits that encouraged loyalty and cooperation from frontier populations. Economic development initiatives include market establishment, road construction, agricultural expansion programs, and settlement incentives that increase regional prosperity while strengthening imperial territorial control, reported Xaltocan during development planning discussions. These economic strategies demonstrated comprehensive approaches to territorial administration that addressed both security and prosperity concerns while building sustainable foundations for long-term imperial control. The crisis response procedures involved systematic emergency protocols, rapid deployment capabilities, and coordination mechanisms that ensured effective responses to major threats while maintaining defensive capability during extended operations or multiple simultaneous challenges. Crisis response procedures enable deployment of reinforcement forces within 12 hours, while maintaining essential defensive capabilities at all frontier positions during emergency operations, outlined Tlacaelel during emergency planning exercises. Such emergency preparedness ensured operational effectiveness during challenging circumstances, while providing frameworks for managing multiple threats and maintaining territorial security. The cultural integration programs involved promoting imperial identity while respecting local traditions in ways that encouraged voluntary assimilation rather than resistance, while building social foundations that supported long-term imperial territorial control and regional stability. Cultural integration involves establishing imperial educational institutions, promoting intermarriage with local populations, and creating economic opportunities that encourage voluntary adoption of imperial customs and political loyalty, explained Milintica during cultural policy discussions. These cultural strategies built sustainable foundations for territorial control while reducing potential sources of resistance and rebellion that could threaten frontier security. The seasonal operational adjustments involved adapting defensive procedures, patrol schedules, and supply arrangements to accommodate weather conditions, agricultural cycles, and seasonal migration patterns that affected both security threats and operational capabilities throughout the annual cycle. Seasonal adjustments include enhanced patrols during spring trading seasons, modified supply schedules during rainy periods, and increased defensive preparations during harvest periods when heightened activity creates both opportunities and vulnerabilities, detailed Tlacaelel during operational planning sessions. These adaptive procedures ensured continued effectiveness despite seasonal variations while maximizing operational efficiency and defensive capability throughout changing environmental conditions. The succession planning and leadership development involved preparing junior officers for increased responsibilities while maintaining institutional knowledge and operational continuity that ensured continued frontier defense effectiveness despite personnel changes and career advancement. Leadership development includes systematic mentoring programs, rotational assignments that provide diverse experience, and advanced education opportunities that prepare promising officers for increased command responsibilities, noted Tlacaelel during leadership planning discussions. This institutional development ensured continued professional competence while maintaining operational effectiveness despite normal personnel changes and career progression. The regional cooperation agreements involved coordinating defensive operations with neighboring imperial territories, allied communities, and neutral populations whose cooperation was essential for comprehensive frontier security while building political relationships that strengthened imperial territorial control. Regional cooperation includes mutual defense agreements with allied communities, information sharing with neutral territories, and coordinated operations with neighboring imperial garrisons that create comprehensive security coverage, observed Xaltocan during regional coordination planning. These cooperative arrangements enhanced overall defensive capability while building political support that strengthened imperial territorial control and reduced potential threats. As evening approached and daily operations concluded with the posting of night watches and completion of intelligence reports destined for Imperial headquarters, Tlacaelel reflected on the complex responsibilities that Frontier Command entailed. These border fortresses served as essential guardians of imperial security, whose strategic importance extended far beyond simple military functions to encompass economic, political, and cultural dimensions that affected imperial prosperity and territorial stability. The frontier commanders who managed these sophisticated defensive operations served as essential architects of imperial expansion, whose professional expertise enabled the empire to maintain control over vast territories through strategic combination of military strength, diplomatic skill, and administrative competence that achieved territorial security while facilitating economic development and cultural integration. Through systematic attention to garrison management, intelligence operations, diplomatic relationships, and logistical coordination, frontier defenses created frameworks for territorial administration that served both immediate security needs and long-term imperial expansion through peaceful development rather than constant military operations. The border fortresses of the Aztec Empire represented sophisticated integration of military engineering, political strategy, and economic development that enabled effective territorial control through systematic attention to defensive capability, regional relationships, and institutional management that served both imperial security and local prosperity through coordinated administration and strategic planning. The defensive systems they maintained became foundations of imperial territorial control that connected military security with political stability while building economic relationships that strengthened imperial authority through mutual benefit rather than simple military dominance, serving both imperial expansion and regional development through effective frontier administration and strategic territorial management. Border fortress operations demonstrated that authentic imperial power required not merely military strength, but comprehensive understanding of territorial administration, cultural relations, and economic development that could achieve sustainable territorial control through systematic attention to defensive capability, political relationships, and regional development, serving both imperial security and local prosperity through effective frontier management and strategic coordination. The frontier defenses they established became models for territorial expansion that balanced military security with economic development while building political relationships that enable sustainable imperial control through cooperative administration rather than simple military occupation, demonstrating sophisticated approaches to territorial management that served both imperial objectives and regional welfare through systematic frontier development and strategic territorial administration.